Charlie, do you have some in-depth commentary before we begin?
Microphone must die.
Thank you so much. So back in May, I got contacted by one of my Pionus friends here in Denmark who has a bronze-winged Pionus named Abba. And it's, by the way, it's this Abba. It's unfortunately not this Abba, because we all know who's the best Abba. Now, unfortunately, she was actually looking to rehome Abba due to some personal stuff. So she wrote to me asking if I knew anyone willing to take on a female bronze-wing. And don't tell Charlie, but I kind of really like bronze wings and was looking for one before I got enslaved to this gal. So background. She wrote to me in May, which was right after Charlie's hormonal period in like February till June. So Charlie would scream at every single thing, and she would do it for a long time, and all of these other lovely behaviors us parrot owners know comes along with a hormonal season. The hormones are relevant, that's why I mentioned them, but I'll just come back to them a bit later. So birds are obviously flock animals, right? So it's no secret that I have kind of been looking for a friend for Charlie, or plan on doing it for sure in the future. The problem right now, as of why I don't have a second bird, is first of all money. I'm a student. I do have money for Charlie, don't worry, but I wouldn't be absolutely sure that I had enough money if an emergency would happen with 2 birds. So that's the first thing. Second of all, I don't have the space. I can give you a tour of the apartment, and if you can find a space where I can put a cage just as big as Charlie's as a minimum, I would be glad to hear it, but I don't know where. But that doesn't matter because I don't have money for one anyway. But I still had been thinking about it and sort of find a way for me to have two still, because I think it would benefit Charlie a lot to have a flock mate, so to say. But they would need to sleep in the same cage, and I would need to make sure that if she gets a buddy, I can have them that way. You might think it's ridiculous to think that I could take on another bird with these things that I just mentioned, but this is where the hormones come in, because I was at a pretty bad state of mind, and I was pretty desperate to find a solution to minimize Charlie's screaming, to minimize Charlie's aggression, and all of these things. And so if getting a companion could minimize these things or help Charlie in any way, I was of course ready to try and overcome economical situation things and space things to try and figure something out. And if you, by the way, want to hear more about that situation and how parrot hormones have overall affected me and how it can affect someone's mental health, then me and Ashley from Pionus Tales actually did a collab on her channel where we did a little interview and talk a lot about it over there. If I were to introduce Charlie to another bird, I would not do it in this apartment because I don't think there's space enough to us where they could get enough space between them, and it's Charlie's territory, so I think she would be very territorial towards another bird coming in here. So fortunately, we had a summer vacation coming up. So what we did was that I arranged with Abba's owner that we do a trial period of 2 weeks where we go to my parents' house, where they can have a whole room to themselves, where I can introduce them and be with them over these 2 weeks and see if they could get along, and this could possibly, maybe, be a match. So the chemistry had to work, and I had to see if I could handle having 2 birds. And so this was sort of a way to test that, and a way for us to see if Abba and Charlie could get along, and then I could have Abba maybe. So I'm gonna roll some clips from me filming the 2 weeks and then get back to you guys with some more commentary on the matter. Are you waiting on me to drop a carrot? Are you waiting on me to drop a carrot? All right. I dropped it, oh no. If you couldn't tell by the dogs, I'm actually at my mom's place right now, and the reason behind that is my mom asked if I could take care of the dogs. But I'm gonna make the chop and just overall prepare and take you guys along. Alright, let's bring some of our chop to our taste tester. Hi Charlie, good morning! Good morning Charlie! How are you? I have chop for you! she likes it. This is, by the way, Charlie's holiday cage. I just took out some purchase, so I'm gonna add them again. They're at my dad's house in her travel cage. But I'm gonna add them again so that we get some more space over here. But it's just the cage she's in when she's on holiday at my mom's. But it's open in the bird room, so you know, I'm not really worried about the space. It's just so that she has a place to eat and all that. But this is where Charlie and Abba are gonna be. Now, as mentioned, Abba's owner is gonna bring a lot of her purchase as well. We have the perch in the window, and this is for Poops to take care of the walls. We have the Abba perch, and then Abba's cage is gonna be where the backpacks are. So we'll have Charlie and Abba besides each other in each of their separate cages. And I know there's like a bed and a TV and closets and all that, but guys, it's my mom's place. She lives here. It's so sweet of her to even suggest that we can just use this for the whole month. And we're gonna fill it up and make it as bird safe as possible. But there are gonna be stuff around here because it is her place. This is my dad's new cat, by the way. His name is Wally.
Hello.
Just like the robot, spelled the same way. He's super cute. He's so cute. You're so cute.
Please, woman, let go of me.
You and Charlie aren't gonna be friends, are you? No, you're gonna chase her. So we're not gonna allow that. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. So because Abba's owner was there during the arrival, of course, I didn't film much of it because I found it a bit awkward and time-consuming to start taking out my phone. But it went really well, and nor Abba or Charlie showed like any kind of aggression towards each other. They were both pretty chill, just minding their own business. But let me run over what my thoughts were when introducing these two and what I did. So first off, as you might have seen, the cages were right next to each other, not so close so that they could get to each other's feet or anything, but close enough so as where they could see each other and they could eat beside each other. And I really tried to make them eat besides each other because in nature, eating together is a big part of like the flock dynamic. So I wanted them to safely build up trust, and this was a way to do that. So having them see each other and eat together, but not have access to each other yet. Second, they were only out when supervised, and we also were at my mom's place in order to give them a room so that they could get away from each other and create some distance to just observe if that's what they needed. So that's why they had a whole room to themselves. I will also say that in the beginning we just had one of them out and then switched between them so that they could both get some exercise. And then as soon as we noticed that none of them were aggressive towards each other or had an interest in chasing the other one, then we let them out together, and only when we were absolutely sure that they wouldn't do that. The third and last thing I can think of also involves the place, because meeting at a neutral territory is so important. This is also why we're at my mom's and not in the apartment, because if we were at the apartment, Charlie would be very territorial of her purchase and of her cage. So meeting in a neutral territory is key so that none of the birds are trying to protect their space from the other bird and be aggressive, and instead they can just focus on each other. As you have probably guessed, we didn't end up adding Abba to our little flock. And to elaborate on why, there were a couple of many reasons that I didn't do it. I know many bird owners will live and die under the impression that an only bird is wrong and that they get sad and depressed if they don't have a mate. I do believe birds thrive in a flock, don't get me wrong, and that maybe with time, Charlie and Abba could have become great friends. On the other hand, seeing Charlie's interaction with Abba, or should I say lack of interaction with Abba, or even interest, I don't think Charlie really craves like bird companionship as of now. Abba, however, was very interested in Charlie and like circling around her, really wanting to be near her or like get an interaction. But Charlie was actually more nervous and skittish whenever Abba would try and move around or flew or anything like that, whereas Abba had just a way more calm demeanor around her whenever she would try and get over to Charlie. So it's hard to explain if you don't know Charlie, but this is Charlie that's very on edge. You know, the way she's crouching, the way she's looking, and overall she's a bit skittish. And she's never been that. And since Abba's been here, she's been more like that. Like it's obviously in stages where then she'll eat and be fine, and then she goes up and is a bit on edge. And it's usually when Abba's flying around, when Abba's out, and I don't know. I haven't really seen her that much like this on edge. As an example, I actually tried to treat the birds while they were out to let them know that being together is a good thing and you get treats and all of this. Abba took a couple of treats from me, but she wasn't that training motivated. Charlie went into full training mode and she wanted me to recall her. She did the spin, she waved, could not care less about Abba that was actually trying to get near her or like looking at what we were doing. Charlie would just be near me 24/7. She didn't want anything to do with Abba. This is where it really starts to hit me that Charlie is really attached to me and actually maybe don't crave a bird relationship right now. To be clear, Abba and her owner of course also have a bond and all of that, and they are very attached, but Abba was still aware of Charlie, and the whole reason we tried this out was because Abba actually seemed to crave bird interaction more and would just look out at a window all the time whenever she was home. But when I say that Charlie was 100% focused on training and not Abba, I mean like 100%. She did not care. She was just ready to train. Don't get me wrong, I know it's a learning process for Charlie because she's also not used to having another bird around and is just used to me. And I think that with time they could have become great friends because Charlie was not aggressive or anything. She wasn't territorial, she was just uninterested. This was where it became difficult for me because yes, with time, and I had 2 weeks, and at the end of those 2 weeks I would begin vet school. Now, could I go to vet school without at all worrying if these two birds could get along in a cage together in my apartment? I was very hopeful in the beginning of this little project, but after seeing Charlie's lack of interest and actually her being skittish and a bit more scared, I started to doubt a lot, obviously. But this is actually just the top, because I got even more doubts the more that I interacted and the more days that I had with Abba. So she's a very sweet bird, she's great. However, there were a lot of other things that would take a lot of time to train and for Abba to adjust to for us to really work. First of all, we have the screaming. And I know that I have complained about Charlie screaming before. Never again. I'm never complaining about Charlie's screams. Since her hormone period has passed, Charlie has actually been super sweet and she is back to her normal quiet self, and she also doesn't have this very high-pitched scream that I've talked about because Abba has a very high-pitched scream. Abba, you're very loud. You're very loud. Listen to Charlie. Can you mimic that? Mimic the cute chirps, please. You can actually hear Charlie in this clip making her little bird chatter that she does whenever she's excited or when we get home. She does this little chatter, and also just sometimes, like, without us doing
So we meet
anything.
again.
Do you wanna, like, I was hoping you could do a chirp. Can you do a chirp? Yeah, like those. She does those sometimes, and it's super cute. But I remember Abba's owner did mention that she had never heard a pie make that noise. So I got a little worried when she said that. The video doesn't really justify it. It was so loud. So I'm just grateful that Charlie has her high squawks and those cute little noises. Thank you. I did know that with another bird there would be potentially more screaming. That's just how it works. But whenever I expressed my concerns on the matter, I would always get an answer from her owner along the lines of like, oh, her and Charlie are gonna be besties and then they don't have to scream for attention, so they will make each other more quiet, or, well, Charlie is gonna teach Abba how to be more quiet because she's more quiet, and all of this. And I think I was just so naive that I didn't even think about it the other way around. And I don't know why it took me so long and them to show up for me to realize that it could be the other way around, that my sweet bird that I've used so much time and training on desensitizing could suddenly be more skittish because now she has a companion that is more frightened towards things that maybe didn't scare Charlie in the past. Or maybe Charlie is gonna make this high-pitched scream because that's what her companion does. So I was just afraid of kind of ruining what I had built up with Charlie over the years. Lastly, what I think convinced me a whole lot as well was actually Abba's training motivation, because it was non-existent. She would not take treats and she would just not want to train as much, which means that all of these previous things that I have mentioned, I can't train that well because I have a bird that's not motivated to train these things. Do you want a treat, Abba? Do you want a treat? Treat? Like tranced by the window. Do you want a treat, up? I don't want to shove it in your face too much, but have you seen it? Yeah, no. To compare, a treat for Charlie. Oh my god, Charlie, can you wave? Good girl, can you shake? Good girl. Just up and ready. And I know that I don't know Abba that well, and that could be a contributor, but her owner does say that Abba does not like training that much, and Charlie is just so aware and ready, and I think I have like not appreciated that enough. And then there were the routines. Holy! Abba had a lot of routines that her owner wanted me to continue doing, and I was not used to doing this much work with Charlie. It might be the next week, because that's where I've gotten time to film the rest of this. Charlie is in molting season, so if she's looking a bit roughed up, that's why. But she's also very cuddly right now due to that reason. So she's asking me for pets all the time. And step-ups, apparently. You want to go to your cage? Go on. Good girl, Charlie. So getting back to Abba and her routines. I know that a lot of birds are on like routines where they do everything at a certain time every single day, and that might work for some owners. It doesn't work for me. I really enjoy the freedom that I have by raising Charlie on a changing schedule, so to say. So I can wake up whenever I want to. So if that's like 10:30 in the weekend, Charlie will patiently sit in her cage and wait until I wake her up. Now, Abba was not on a changing schedule, as you can probably guess, because she was used to getting woken up at like 8 or 9. That's fine, but she would usually wake up earlier and scream for me to come and give her food or whatever. So already now I can't sleep in the weekends, at least for now, until I get Abba on the right schedule, of course. So after that, Abba would come out and take her morning flights because she didn't want to eat in the mornings. So I would have to put her bowl on top of her cage with chop in it, but she might not want to eat the chop because she doesn't like it every time. So I can give her pellets, but she's not on Top's pellets, so I have to do some diet conversion. Then I give her pellet bread because that's the only thing she wants to eat. But her water gets so messy that I have to change it 3 times a day. And then she might not want to go back into her cage in the morning. And I obviously couldn't handle her yet. So I'm now looking at a morning routine where I have to take like 45 minutes to get Abba out on a flight, get her to eat, and then maybe chase her around a bit. Not literally, obviously, but get her to go in the cage. And I don't have that kind of time in the morning. What I do with Charlie is that I wake up and I go to Charlie's cage and she gets her breakfast and she eats it. That's it. So again, it's not to say that these habits are bad or anything. You can totally be on a schedule with your bird. I'm just not used to doing that. So having to start vet school, having to change my morning schedule, having to be worried about if they're getting along in the cage, also changing Charlie's schedule to a certain degree because I have to sort of adjust Abba while still having her comfortable by doing some of her routines and all that. It would just be a bit messy, I think. So I just mentioned that Abba didn't want to go in her cage, and that was actually also the case in the evenings, which made my evening routine take kind of a long time because Ava is obviously not used to having me handle her. She would over time, but even Ava's owner sometimes couldn't get her to go into her cage, and she would do laps and fly around and not want to go to bed, and then she would have to cover Ava and say goodnight. Again, I'm used to just having Charlie go to bed by herself. I don't do anything, and I have an example of that here on video. So it's 7:30, I'm catching up on some vet work, and Charlie has gone to bed. She is preening right now before she goes to sleep. As you can see, gate is wide open. She went in there all by herself and just does her thing. Even though there's light, even though I'm sitting here talking and, you know, using my keyboard, making some noise, Charlie is so used to just doing this. We've done this since day one, and I haven't noticed her missing sleep or not being able to sleep or anything like that. If so, I would of course change our routine. But why do that when I don't have to lift a finger, because Charlie just does this and knows how to do it? The plan in the long run was of course to get Ava on Charlie's routine, but again we're looking at like 2 weeks to do diet conversion so that she's hopefully more interested in treats, so that I can actually do some target training and start building this trust with her on top of just introducing these two, on top of a routine shift. And it was just a lot to drag Ava through when I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep her at the end of those 2 weeks. So I didn't feel like I have the time, and I felt like it would be a lot of stress to take on Ava and a lot of stress on Charlie to do all of these things at once. I'm also gonna be honest, a little part of me thought that I was kind of pushing away what I had built up with Charlie in order to take in Ava, because due to Charlie being an only bird, I of course made it a priority from day one to train all these things with her and put her on a routine where she's comfortable being left alone and knows that I'm coming back, so she's not distressed. And also train her to come in the harness and come in the backpack so that I can actually bring her as many places as possible so that she's not alone in all of this. So by taking in Ava, I suddenly can't do that, because then I'm taking Ava's companionship away by taking Charlie out to do all these things. Because the thing is, Ava's not used to being in backpacks, she doesn't really like it, and she's also not harness trained, so I would have to do all these things again and then have 2 birds in each of their separate harnesses outside, which is just a recipe for disaster, I feel like. So a part of me would have to push that aside in order to give Charlie a companion. What ended up happening was that I actually ended the trial period way earlier, so already 3 days in, I had made my decision not to take Ava. And this was like built on what I just told you guys with the time and all of these things that I noticed just during the first 2 days that started all the thoughts and got me thinking about all these things. So I really thought it through, trust me, before I ended it. And the reason I ended it earlier, because a part of me did want to drag it out the 2 weeks just to see, but I thought it would be a shame to drag Ava through all of these, you know, diet conversion, routine changes, meeting Charlie, new place, all of these things. It would be a shame to drag it out the 2 weeks when I already know that I have kind of made my decision. So I didn't take Ava, so I really hope that you guys aren't mad or anything. It's just my decision, and it's based on that Charlie thrives as of now. Using all my bird knowledge, Charlie thrives as of now as an only bird, and she's absolutely fine. On top of that, I don't have the money and I don't have the time because of vet school and me wanting a good start and the small apartment to take in another bird responsibly. So having them quarantine, having 2 cages, all of this. So I don't want to rush anything and risk birds getting hurt in the process. If anything, I'm just proud that I gave it a shot, and I just had to realize that now's not the time. And will Charlie get a bird companion in the future? Sure she will. I'm looking forward to that, but it's just not the time right now.